What's up everybody, Ben here with the PointByPatrol, and just a quick update. I just picked up a new downpipe from Innovatig. Absolutely beautiful downpipe, as you can see here. The welds are flawless. The flanges smooth, no sharp edges. Everything here looks great. And what I aim to do with this piece is to wrap it in the DEI titanium exhaust and pipe wrap kit kind of stuff, which you can get from several sources online. I do hate to cover anything this beautiful, but the idea is to keep the heat in and not let the heat escape out of this. You know, I want to keep temps under the hood a little bit cooler, but I also want to keep all of that hot exhaust air flowing rapidly through this pipe. And so that's something that the heat wrap will aid in. So I'm going to walk through kind of how to do that here. And before I do that, just one important thing for all of you to note is that you need to check your brand new downpipe prior to installation to make sure that it's street legal. And the best way to do that is the same method as you would use with a seashell, for example. You just hold it up to your ear and listen. Yeah, I think this one checks out. That's gonna work perfectly. Let's go ahead and get rolling on this heat wrap here. So, as you'll notice, I've got a bowl of water. I've got a can of high temp silicone coating. This goes up to 1500 degrees. I've got a heat gun. I've got my downpipe, 2 different pairs of pliers, and a very small eyeglass flathead. And I've got some gloves because the heat wrapping can get in your fingers, it can get stuck in your fingers, it itches like crazy, and it's just better to have the gloves on than have to deal with all of that. So we're gonna start by adding the heat wrapping to the bowl of water. I grabbed my wrap here. I also grabbed the stainless steel zip ties. This is my spool of wrap right here. I'm gonna go ahead and dunk this in the water. And we're gonna let that sit for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Really wanna wait for all of these bubbles to kind of dissipate here. Just make sure that it's fully impregnated with the water. And what the water serves to do is it helps it stretch a little bit while you're applying it so that you can get a nice tight fit. So I'm gonna pause the video here. I'm gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes. We're gonna come back and we're gonna continue. I've had my heat wrap sitting for about 10 minutes and gonna get started here. So putting on a fresh set of gloves. And we're gonna begin wrapping this. So I'm gonna pull out the little needle. I'm gonna kind of leave some of this in the water as I wrap. And I may need to move this around a little bit depending on where I wanna kind of end and begin kind of deal. So see how I've got some frayed edges here with that? You just kind of, you simply just roll it over to kind of get started. And, you know, right about there looks good to me. And here we go. And this can be a tedious process, and you know, you kind of want to take your time with it just to make sure that you've done kind of what you set out to do. And what I'm aiming for here is about a 1/4 inch overlap as I go along. And obviously I'm not going to be able to cover, you know, all of this because of the bungs for the oxygen sensors. But I'm still gonna do my best to do what I need to do here. And I'm trying to pull this tight while I do it. All right, and there we have it, all wrapped up. Aviation snips work great for cutting this. It's not the most beautiful thing I've ever created, and you can certainly take more time. I started running into problems where it began to taper down right here, but we've got a bunch of stainless steel zip ties that we're gonna need to put on this anyhow. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with that so that we can get this thing cinched down so that it's not going anywhere. So there's a trick to these stainless steel zip ties. There's a little ball bearing that lives inside of this little piece right here, and that's what locks it down. So it doesn't allow you to cinch it down all the way, which is kind of frustrating. And something that I could do too to combat this is some mechanics wire and just kind of wrap it and twist it up myself. But I really do want these to be as tight as I can get them. So there's a bit of a trick to it. You can stick a very small screwdriver inside and you push against the ball bearing to lock it in place. And with your other hand, you can kind of, there we go, pull with a pair of pliers. And it is a lot tighter now. I can't really move too much of this surrounding material because it got this tighter. And if you're not happy with it, you can do it more than once. So you can, like I said, you stick this in here to kind of push against that ball bearing. Then you use a pair of pliers and you just pull as best you can. Get that on this side. I'm comfortable with that. Let's add another one here. I'm going to use a few of these too. I mean, there's no harm in using a few of these to get what needs done. In this case, it looks like I'm going to have to lock two together in some spots since they only supply so many of these. So I'm thinking maybe I should come up here and lock the top while I'm at it. And that's going to be, that's a tight fit right there. I may have to double up in order to get this one to lock. Let's see what happens. Worst case scenario, I lose one and I have to cut it off. Yeah, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to lock two together in order to accomplish that. Possibly even three. Let's see what I come up with. All right, so that's got that. All right, that's just long enough to give me something to work with there. And I'm gonna have to use the same trick here to pull this as tight as I can. I still may even try some of the mechanics wire route on this just to be on the safe side. I really don't want this thing slipping off or going anywhere. Running out of bands to use here, and obviously I still need a few here, but I'm going to have to link these together in order to make it work. All right, that appears to be on there pretty well, so I'm fairly comfortable with that. That's great. So now what we need to do is just kind of make this a little more friendly. I'm going to bend these tabs over and just kind of press them flat so that they're not catching my fingers during installation, because I'm sure that would not feel good at all. So just gonna try to hide these out of my way a little bit. I will add some mechanics wire to this, so I'll go grab some of that in just a second, but and you don't want to dry this off just yet. That's what the heat gun's for. So the heat gun will help shrink this kind of back and really kind of get it tight against the downpipe here. You're gonna take a quick break, run out, grab some of the mechanics wire. Might hit it in a couple places here just to be 100% on the safe side. I don't want this, sliding around or anything like that. So I'm gonna pause the video here and I'll be right back. I ran out, got some mechanics wire here, and I'm gonna further secure the wrapping to the downpipe. So, some fresh gloves again. I can already feel some itch on my arms where I kind of had to hug this thing while I was wrapping the wrap around it, but should be able to wash that off in the sink, no problem. So either way, just gonna come up here and I find, that's about a nice length right there so that I can wrap this up. I'll give it a cut. And just start spinning this. And then what you can do as well, so you can take your pliers and you can get it good and tight with the pliers. All right, that's nice and tight. I'm gonna trim the excess here. Then tap that down kind of flat so that you don't get cut on it later. And you simply repeat the process until you feel that you have everything secured nicely. I may do a little bit more in this area since this is where it tapered down and it wasn't very happy with that taper. So I'm gonna do 2 more. All right, and that's it. I'm happy with that. So the next step is to get out your heat gun and you're gonna dry this out so that it helps shrink it up. And then the final step, and this final step may not take place today, but then you come back and paint it with this. And before you do that, you need to tape off your flanges. Got my downpipe hung up and I'm going to start coating it with the high temp silicone coating here. This one is good for up to 1500 degrees and it's probably going to be 2 or 3 coats, so I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing. You get the idea. You take the paint, you put it on this. I masked off all the other areas with blue painter's tape.